Welcome to another episode of that Worship Guitar Show, brought to you by worshipguitarskills.com with me, Charl and the WGS team. You'll discover how to go from a frustrated to fluent worship guitarist without having to practice for hours on end or even spend thousands of dollars on new gear. We'll help you unleash your true potential so you can make the most of the gifts and talents you've been entrusted with, and finally grow into the amazing worship guitar player you've been destined to become. Welcome, and let's get started. Hey, welcome guys. Awesome to be back again with you. We see Ray from Michigan tuning in. Hey Ray, hope it's going well on your side. We've got Brian from Indiana. Hey Brian, both Ray and Brian are members from our Worship Guitar Skills Academy, so awesome to see you guys. And then our video editor Rob is having some fun, saying he's from Bosnia, so welcome Rob. All right, awesome. We are super stoked to be here with you guys. Let me know if you can hear my voice all right, and if you can hear my guitar. And then what we're going to do is we'll dive right into today's lesson. We've got David Belcher tuning in from Eugene, Oregon. Hey David, awesome to have you on the stream with us today. And David is saying happy birthday WGS. Thanks so much for that. David, yeah, so what David is saying is, I actually got the notice today from YouTube that we started our channel 6 years ago today. So it's been 6 years, and for the most part, we've been publishing a video per week, and when possible, we're also doing a live stream like we are doing right now every week as well. So it's been an awesome journey with you guys to create all the awesome content and get all the amazing feedback, and we're super thankful at this stage. I think we are at about 20,000 subscribers, and we've had just over 1.2 million views, and so yeah, we super thankful for that, and it's great to be able to serve you guys over here on the channel. So Justin saying hey from Ohio. We've got Darren, another repeat viewer here from tuning in from North Carolina. Hey Darren. And then Philip is tuning in from Arkansas. Hey Philip, always have to watch my pronunciation with the way that's written. And we've got Paul tuning in from Nova Scotia. And yeah, welcome guys. And Steve tuning in from Florida. Love Florida, awesome. Been there a few times. Super cool spot there. So welcome guys. It's really, really awesome to have you. And today we are going to be talking about the wonderful world of creating melodies on the guitar. We've just wrapped up a workshop at our Worship Guitar Skills Academy all about scales. It's a scales workshop, but learning how to use scales melodically. And we've obviously published a couple of videos here on the channel as well. So today I figured we can spend a little bit more time on the concept of scales and just show you how to use it more melodically as it relates to playing rhythm, playing lead. And then also, if anybody has any questions throughout the stream, feel free to throw in a comment in the comment section. I've got it open in front of me here, so I should see your comments coming through, and then we can go ahead and take it from there. So if you have any questions specifically as it relates to playing more melodically on the guitar, please go ahead and put those questions in the comments section. One of the issues that I know that people are facing is, you know, when you play a scale, in this case I might do the G major scale, and if I turn off my reverbs and delay, so that is literally just one scale, and if you're going to be playing over a chord progression, those are going to be the notes that you can use from that scale. But the problem a lot of guitar players run into is that it all sounds like a scale, and if you'd agree, that doesn't sound like music, right? Because it's just a collection of notes. In the same way that it wouldn't be fun if someone read back the alphabet to you, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, whatever the case may be. That would not be fun because it's literally just letters. And it's the same with a scale. Those are kind of like letters, and you need to use those letters together to form interesting words. The words become sentences and paragraphs, and then we start communicating. And once we can start communicating, think of it like telling stories. You know, a story has to have some tension. If everything is always happening totally fine within a story, then it's going to kind of be boring. So there needs to be elements of tension that we can then resolve. And if you look at, say, the scale that we've just looked at a second ago, if you listen to these two notes, that sounds a bit rough. But if I go, then I take this tension and I resolve it. And that basically means that I'm able to tell some stories and get some resolutions and tension happening. And you want to do the same with your guitar playing. So instead of playing the scale like saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like reading the alphabet, think about ideas that you want to communicate and how you want to create some tension that you can then go and resolve. Hey, Kevin, tuning in from Texas. Welcome, welcome. So what I'm going to do is let me go ahead and put back my delays here and my reverb. And then I'm going to go ahead and just do a bit of a jam on a 2-bar vamp. So this, let's go up to this scale. The G major scale. And it's just 2 chords. Now every time a chord happens, I'm going to have safe notes and I'm going to have unsafe notes. So I'm going to have notes that are going to sound like home. So if I play G, that sounds like home. And that's all my home notes for C. Both of those came from the G major scale. But if I just play home, notes that sound like home the whole time, it's going to get boring. Like I said, a story without any excitement, without adventure, without tension, that gets boring. So what I'm going to do for a way of an example is I'm going to play all safe notes a couple of times, and then I'm going to start adding in some unsafe notes, which would be notes that are not chord tones, but they're still from the same scale. We'll see what that sounds like, and afterwards I'll show you how you can do the same. And welcome Calvin from Malaysia, so you just tuned in time. I'm about to fire up the track here, and do me a favor as I'm playing, you can also let me know what the guitar level and the track level is like for you. And I think I might have to push that up a little bit, so let's go ahead and see. Safe notes. Again, safe notes. So that's fine, but it's a little bit, you know, there's no excitement necessarily. Setting the stage, I'm playing the chords G, to C. And now let's go ahead and try add some tension. One more time. So hopefully that kind of gave you an idea of what it sounds like when I just use safe notes, which is chord tones. And then when I started introducing some unsafe, for a better term, because if I land on any of those notes, it's not going to sound very good. So what I did there is basically I played G, and then I went to F sharp over that G. Now listen to what it sounds like if I play F sharp over a G. It's kind of tense, right? because it's a major seventh. Now, yes, if you play it in the context of a major seventh chord, it can work totally fine. But for the most part, worship music, especially modern worship, we don't really play that much major sevenths and those kind of chords. So in this case, the major sevenths over a G sounded a bit tense. And if I use that same F sharp over a C, you can hear it also sounds, it needs to go somewhere. I can't just stay there. So let me do the track one more time. I'm going to play safe notes, and then I'm going to introduce those unsafe notes, but this time I'm not going to resolve them. I'm going to use them incorrectly. So prepare yourself. It's not going to sound good. But then at the end, I will go ahead and show you how to resolve them. So once you know how to create some tension, in the same way that a master storyteller will tell the story, you'll be on the edge of your seat, listening, wondering what's going to happen. Is the hero going to come through? Is everything going to work out fine? That is the art of anticipation and tension that then gets resolved in a great story. And even think of, people talk about the hero's journey, which is what most movies are based off on. So Star Wars, right? Rocky, Lord of the Rings. Almost any movie that you think about, it's got the 3-act play. They open up the scene, there's the characters, something bad happens, there's some kind of a tension, and that then gets resolved in Act 3. That's an oversimplification of a story, but even think about the Bible, right? Everything was fine, right, with Adam and Eve in the garden. Then sin entered. They got, they sinned. They got separated from God, and then Jesus had to come and die on the cross for our redemption and our salvation. And now, as a result of that, we can live from that place of experiencing what Jesus accomplished for us on the cross. So that in of itself is a 3-act play. And can you see how movies even just mirror the life of Christ in that sense? Everything was fine, some kind of a problem, sin entered the world, Jesus came, died for our sins, and now we are fine. We've got eternal life, and we can go ahead and minister to others and make disciples and show people what kingdom love and kingdom living looks like. Right, so that's the gospel side of it, which then gets used in stories, and we can use that same thing when we are composing melodies. So if I always just play home notes, it's going to be like I'm always in the Garden of Eden. Of course, that would be awesome, but in that case, there's never any excitement in there because I'm always just playing the safe notes. So in that case, I want to introduce some tension. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up the track. Let me know if this concept of adding tension and then resolving it on your guitar makes sense. And if you have any questions about that, then I can go ahead and answer those for you. So I'm going to fire up the track, play just safe notes. Then I'm going to play just unsafe notes. And then I'm going to go ahead and combine the two in hopefully a musical way so that you can hear what that sounds like. Here we go. Safe notes. Only play unsafe notes. Doesn't work, right? Doesn't work, but listen to this. Alright, so the second time, or the final time, I took those notes the non-chord tones, and I played them in a way where I resolve them. So when I played just non-chord tones, I'm sure you'd agree, that did not sound very good, right? But when you start resolving them, it makes the world of difference. So if you have any questions in and around any of this, go ahead and let me know, and then I'll answer those for you in the comments section. And so I'll have a look over here if there's anything coming in. So if you want to learn more details around what chord tones are, what non-chord tones are, some of the latest videos on our YouTube channel, we covered that in great detail. But basically, I want you to think of it like this. A scale has 7 notes. Of those 7 notes, only 3 of the notes will be chord tones if you're playing plain triads, which is what most modern worship music is. And then the other 4 notes will be your non-chord tones, and you can then use them to create some tension. Now, there's 5 famous patterns that you can use that shows you a great way to use both chord tones and non-chord tones together to go ahead and create some tension and resolution. So, for example, if I just play G, those are my chord tones. Now the A note over here, and if I play that over a G, for example, you're going to hear it adds a varying degree of tension here, and it wants to resolve. So our first way that we can do is we can have passing tones. So you start on a chord tone, step up to a non-chord tone, land on a chord tone again. So think of Lion and the Lamb. That was an example of passing tones. So whenever you are playing, find your chord progression and then find the chord tones, and you're going to start on a chord tone, and the very next note is going to be a non-chord tone, and then I'm going to slide back into a chord tone. So I'm at a home note, so a chord tone that goes to a non-chord tone, create some tension, and then I resolve that by going to a home note again. So I'm at my house, I go to a passing tone, and then I go back to I go back home again, in the sense of it's this time it's going to be another chord tone. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that for you in a couple of ways, and then we're going to talk about how you can use rhythm to kind of spice things up, because the notes in and of themselves is one thing. Again, back to a story. If you go and watch one of your favorite movies, if you just read the script, or maybe the movie was based on a book, then it's just words on a paper, right? Now it's going to be your mind that will make those words come alive. But if someone just reads or tells a story and they just read the words out loud without any emotion, without any storytelling within there, then it's going to sound boring, right? And it's the same when you play guitar. The notes in of themselves, they are just the words on the paper, but how we tell the story, that is really what gets people excited. So it's not just what we say, but how we say it. The same thing applies to the guitar. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what you can play as it relates to passing tones, and then I'm going to show you how you can use rhythm to change how you say it, so that in order to make that a little bit more interesting. So let me go ahead and fire up the track one more time, and we can check that out. So I have a home note, home, non-chord tone, home, and the same for C. A home note, a non-chord tone, a home note. Adding some rhythm here. passing tones, right? Again. So what I did there is I had my home note, a chord tone, a non-chord tone, a chord tone, and then I had the same for C. A chord tone, a non-chord tone, and a chord tone. See how simple it is. So home, tension, home, home, tension, home. And then you can spice it up with rhythm. And what I'm doing there is I'm basically incorporating what we call a pedal tone. So that's all I'm playing. I'm playing a D note followed by a G, D A, D B, and using that same idea over C. So it's C E, C F sharp, C G. And even just that is kind of a fun thing that you can play on a Sunday when there's an intro for a song or even a verse section. It could be I can even go up higher. So let me play that with the track and listen what I've just played. You can kind of hear the chords. You can hear it's G, and then you hear the second chord C without me playing the chords. So those were the chords. Now listen to this. So you can actually hear the chord changes without playing chords. That is the level that you want to try and aim for, because then your playing is going to sound very musical. So let's go ahead and fire up the track one more time, and then I'm going to show you that same idea that I just came up with here on the spot, which is a passing tone together with a pedal tone. Check it out. I can play it twice every time. Do it higher. A little bit different. Mistake. All right, again. All right, so apologies for the mistake there, but I'm just showing you how you can combine chord tones that sound like home together with non-chord tones that's going to give you some tension and some opportunity to go ahead and resolve in your playing. So go ahead and check that out. And then Tim is asking, please let us know which backing track we can use to practice with this lesson. So Tim, if you are So I just don't quite recognize the channel name that you're using there. But if you're one of our Worship Guitar Skills Academy members, you're going to find this in the Worship Guitar Practice Pack. And for those of you who don't know what the Worship Guitar Practice Pack is, let me just see if you've got a link in the video session here. So if I go ahead and just check this out. So yes, so in the description for this live stream, there's a space there that talks about the modern worship backing tracks. So we've got a modern worship backing tracks, over 600 of them in different keys and different progressions that you can go ahead and check out. And so if you're already a member, that'll be in the Worship Guitar Skills Practice Pack. And if you're not yet a member, you can pick that up by checking out the link in the description for this video. There's over 600 of those. So Tim says he is a member. That's wonderful. So Tim, yeah, that's where you can go ahead and get it. Just look for the Worship Guitar Practice Pack. And so talking about that, I guess we might as well, let me just go here. And so that was a 1-4 progression. Let me do the same for a 1-2, which means it's going to be G and A minor. All right, it's going to be a little bit different, but it's a different backing track that I can now use to get a little bit of a different vibe going. Let's check that out. Now A minor. G. A minor. Go higher for G. A minor. All right, so let me know in the comments if that's useful and helpful by starting on a chord tone, going up to the very next note, and then going up to a chord tone again. So I start somewhere, I go up to the next note, and then I go to the very next chord tone. And you can do that in 3 places. I can do it in G like this, or I can do it, or I can do, or, and that'll be a little bit of a more interesting sound, but that's the concept. You start on a chord tone, you go up to a non-chord tone, and then you go up to the next chord tone. Those are known as passing tones. And by the way, you can also go the opposite direction. So instead of going, I can go, so I can go the opposite direction as well, using that concept. Let me quickly show you neighbor tones. That is when I use a chord tone, I go up to my neighbor, and I go back home. Or I play a chord tone, I go down to my neighbor, and I go back home. So now instead of starting on a chord tone, going up to a non-chord tone, and then going up to a different chord tone, so you can see there's a direction that I'm traveling. I'm starting on my chord tone, I'm going up to my neighbor's house or next to my neighbor's house, and then I go back home. So that's the concept of neighbor tones. And now let's see what we can use with the same track, the G to C, using just neighbor tones. First, just home notes. I'm gonna stay there, it's a home note. Pretty cool, stay there. Now I'm going to use neighbor tones. Go up. Passing tones. Neighbor tones. So that is a concept of a neighbor tone. I start at my home, I go somewhere else, and I come back home. Whereas passing tones, maybe you start at your house, you go somewhere, and then you go to your work, right, where you work. So those are both elements of like familiar territory and then unfamiliar territory in the middle. So those are two ways in which you can do that. And I want to introduce you now to the next concept that we want to cover here today, which is the difference between stepwise movement and leaps. So a step versus a leap. Let me quickly see if I can go ahead and I might introduce my iPad here and I can draw a few things for you. But basically, if you think of a scale, if I always play the very next note, those are all steps. I'm going up step by step. So there's no big jumps. It's just step by step. But I can start on and I can go up, jump up to the C, and then down to the B. So I'm starting here. Can you see that's a leap? So I'm jumping from the G over the A, over the B, straight to the C. And then I go back to a home note again. That is a concept of a leap. I can also leap down. So for example, I can go, if I'm on C here. So it's a big jump that I resolve via a step. So let's go ahead and see if I can draw this for you on the iPad. When you start incorporating steps and leaps, like I'm showing you now, you can do some pretty cool stuff with regards to that. So I'm just going to quickly change my view settings here so I can show you this section over there. So what we've done, let's go ahead and play along here and see if that's going to work. I think that'll be fine. Yes, there we go. So what we've done so far is, let's go ahead and change this to white so we can see that nice and clear, is we've had a passing tone. So basically we start on a note. So if you think of a passing tone right there, it's my passing tone. So I have a home note. Okay, not a passing tone, a passing tone. There we go. So I'm starting on a home note, or let's rather call those chord tones. All right, so I'm starting on a chord tone, then I step up, and then I go to another chord tone. So what we've done with that component there is, as you can see, I start on a chord tone, which in this case is G. I step up to the very next note, and then a chord tone. So for that, I can do this in, say, I can go G, A, and B. I can also go, if we were to say, B, C, and D. So I'm starting on a chord tone, as you can see over there. I'll just quickly show you like this. I'm starting on a chord tone, I'm stepping up to a non-chord tone, and then I'm stepping up to a chord tone again. Now, the next one that we looked at was basically, we looked at neighbor tones, right? So depending on where you are, you're going to spell that differently. So I'm in South Africa, so we spell it like the British. So a neighbor tone, I start on a chord tone, Then I can either step up or down, but we're just going to go step up, and then I go back to my chord tone again. Right? So that means I can play a G sharp, sorry, a G. I can step up to the A and I go back home, as opposed to step up and then another step up. Okay, so that's the difference between a passing tone and a neighbor tone. Let me know if this makes sense. And then what I want to show you now is, it's a fancy Italian word, appoggiatura. And what that means is I'm starting on a chord tone, then I leap up and I step down. So that's what I showed you earlier, is I can be on a G. I have to make a big jump, the G, a big jump, leap up and step down. So that's what the L and the upwards arrow is. I leap up and I step down. Now you can also do it in the opposite direction. For example, I can be a chord tone and then I can leap down and then I have to step up. So do you see something interesting over here, which is the fact that if I leap up, I need to step down, and if I leap down, I need to step up. And that's what I showed you earlier. So in the first example, I start on a chord tone, I leap up, I step down. Or I can start on a chord tone for the C, for example, leap down, step up. So what I want to do now is I'm going to jam again for you a little bit, and then just show you all of these things in action. So if we were to give these numbers, then obviously the passing tone was number 1, the neighbor tone was number 2, and the appoggiatura was number 3. So that's just a fancy word which introduces the leaps. So the L stands for leap, and you can think of that as well as a jump, right? So a leap is going to be a jump. So it's going to be a big distance on the guitar, whereas a step is going to be just to the very next note, either up or down. All right, so let's go ahead. I'll call out what I'm playing: passing tones, neighbor tones, and then appoggiaturas. Let's stick with the same track, and then let's see what we can do. Passing tones. Passing tone again. Now neighbor tones. So I step down and step up again. Appoggiaturas. Leap up and step down, or leap down and step up without any talking. Alright, so obviously what I'm doing here is we're teaching the different concepts, so I have to kind of make things fit within the different areas. But does that make sense? I'm just going to pause there for a second before we cover the final one for today, which is escape tones. But does that kind of make sense when you look at two things? You have chord tones, you have non-chord tones. In musical terms, you have tension, which is your non-chord tones, and you have resolution, which is your chord tones. Those are your two spices that you have to work with, so to speak. The one sounds like home, the other one creates tension that you then need to resolve to go home, and we looked at this example before. You want to go ahead and get resolution in your playing. That's the first concept we used. And in the second one, we said, well, how can I combine these chord tones and non-chord tones together? And that is when we looked at this, which is passing tones, neighbor tones, and then appoggiaturas, where I leap up, step down, or I leap down and I step up. Those were the three different ways in which I can play my, in which I can combine my chord tones and my non-chord tones. So Tim is saying, absolutely, it makes sense. That's awesome. So what we can do now is let's go ahead and just check out the final version. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll draw it out for you again on the iPad. Our fourth and final version is going to be what we call escape tones. Now, escape tones is pretty much very similar to what we had with appoggiaturas. The only thing is we're going to start on a chord tone, then we're going to step up, and we are going to leap down. Or I can start on a chord tone, and I can step down, and then I leap up. All right, and then that is basically it. So let's go ahead and look at what does that look like on the guitar. So if I've got G over here, if I step down and I leap up. So I go down with a little step and I leap up with a big jump. Or if I wanted to step up, leap down. That is a passing tone. Sorry, an escape tone, not a passing tone. And for C, I can step up and leap down, or I can leap down. Oh, sorry, I need to step that. Let me just get I step up, I leap down, or I step down and I leap up. Those are different ways of playing that same thing. So what I'm going to do now quickly is just play escape tones. So that means it's either a small step down with a big leap up, or a small step up and a big leap down. Or on C, it'll be a small step down with a big leap up, or a small step up and a big leap down. So let's go ahead and just play escape tones. And can you already hear that if I play G passing tones versus G escape tones or appoggiatura, that creates a different feeling and a different emotion, and that's really what you want to have at your disposal when you're playing, to be able to evoke some of these different emotions. So I'll play the escape tones, and then afterwards, if there's any questions, I'll go ahead and answer those for you guys. So G escape tone. Again. Small step, big jump. C. Small step, big jump. Now let's small step up, big jump down. Small step up, big jump down. Small step up, big jump down. For C, small step up, big jump down. Passing tone. Escape tone. Escape tone. Neighbor tones and escape tones. And obviously what I'm doing here is I'm just being quite methodical. That's the teacher in me coming out there just to basically convey these concepts. But like Darren is saying, he can't wait to practice this stuff. And that's really what it's all about. It's knowing that you've got notes that will sound like home. Those are chord tones. You only have 3 of the 7 notes that will sound like home. The other 4 notes, they're going to give you varying degrees of tension. Some will be nice, a little bit tension. Some will be a lot of tension, depending on which ones you use. And then how do you combine them? Well, you have these 4 versions to go and do. There's one extra one that we didn't have time to get to today, but which is a suspension. We'll cover that in a future video. But these are just the different ways that you have at your disposal to combine chord tones and non-chord tones. And maybe the last thought that I'd leave you with is, if you listen to this versus very different feeling versus also very different feeling versus. So there I had 4 different ways in which I played over the G. We had a passing tone, we had a neighbor tone, we had an appoggiatura, big leap up, small step down, or an escape tone, small step down, big leap up. And all of them had different feelings and different emotions. And in the same way that when you hear a story, there's different feelings and different emotions that accompany that. And that is how you can go ahead and improve your playing, by being more strategic with how you use these. And here's the good news. I just want to give you guys this as well. So in the beginning, it might feel a little bit like a paint by numbers approach. It might think like, there's a lot of thinking that goes in here. Am I doing an appoggiatura here? Am I doing a escape tone there? Whatever the case may be. It's just going to be like that in the beginning, because then once you get the hang of it, later on, it'll just become a jam. And you can just pull out on any one of these things as you want. And maybe I'll do that. I'll go ahead and fire up the track one more time and not think about these things and just play. That really is the way that you improve your creativity on the guitar and your ability to play. Is at first you spend a lot of time thinking and studying and being methodical, like we were today, by actually analyzing, if I step up, I need to leap down. If I need to leap down, I need to step up, or whatever the case may be. Or passing tones and neighbor tones, appoggiaturas and escape tones. It's quite a methodical process, and it's like really deconstructing the guitar and looking at your notes and all those kind of things at your disposal. But once you've done that enough times, then it's time to forget about it. Because when we at church on a Sunday and we are leading others into worship, we want to get to a level with our skill where we don't have to think, how do I play that chord again, or how do I play that line again, or whatever. You just want to forget about everything and just be. And you just want to be in the moment, you want to be present, and you just want to play. Because when that happens, you're no longer hindering your playing by thinking about it. All right? Have you ever had a conversation with somebody and they're not really listening to what you have to say? They're just thinking about what they are going to say back to you. So they are not present. They are not there. Right? And they're trying to impress you, or they just want to, whatever the reason is. But it's not really nice to be in a conversation like that, because there's no connection. Right? Now, the similar thing can happen with us on a Sunday if we are too worried about what line do we play, what tone do I use there, this or that, and the next thing, when it's worship, right? Instead, what would be very inviting and freeing to the congregation is when you are in that moment and you can just play and not worry about what you're going to play. You can just be there and worship and show your gratitude and thankfulness to God for the work of Christ, for the amazing leading and guidance of the Holy Spirit that we have access to, the awesome promises in the world, and the fact that we know that God's love wins, and that the kingdom of light always overcomes the kingdom of darkness, and that we can be thankful, we can be in a moment. And when you are in that place, in that space, with your intention, with your heart, with your attitude, with your mindset, that then filters into what you're playing, which means you are in that space of gratitude, connection, and really that reverent fear of the Lord. That stuff then gets infused with the notes that you play, because it's going to show in your body language. It's going to show in how you play and what you do. And that is the thing that then pulls other people into the worship experience, and that allows them to connect with God, experience His love, His touch, all those amazing things. And that is how we get to change lives, through playing guitar and through being worshipers like King David was in the Bible. When he played the harp, the evil spirit that tormented Saul would leave. So that's my prayer for you today, is that you would take the time to, and well done for showing up and for putting time and effort into your playing, and that you would learn these things. But when the time is right, just forget them and see what you can come up with. So that's my prayer for you today, that you can worship in spirit and in truth, and get to those levels of worship where we transcend mere notes and tones and chords and scales and licks and riffs and whatever the case may be, but we can get to a place where we are just doing what we were created to do, and instead of actually doing it, we can just be in that space of thankfulness and gratitude and worship. So Eddie's saying insightful and useful as always. Super happy to hear that. Thank you, Eddie. I'm going to put this track on one more time, just jam a little bit, have some fun. And if there's any questions, now's your time to put them in the comment section. I'll answer them after the little bit of the jam. And if there's no questions, then we'll wrap up the session, and then obviously see you guys on the next one. So we'll do that same track again. Here we go. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. And Jez is saying, hey Charl, I'm tuning in here a little bit late. No worries, Jez. The replay obviously is going to be available for you to dig in. And Tim saying it's all about knowing the fretboard. And so that's really what it comes down to. Learn it, focus on it, and then forget about it, so that you can be, as you stated there, in flow, because that really is where the awesome stuff is going to happen. When you're not thinking about it, but instead you are just doing and being you and releasing your sound. I want to encourage you, because there's a song in your heart. The Bible says, make a joyful noise unto the Lord, right? So there's a noise and there's a sound that's only in your heart that you need to release. And as a result of that, freedom can come, and we can give, and we can invite other people into that experience of worship. So when we spend some time doing this, that's what can happen there. So Phil says he's tuning in from London. Thanks, Charl. Amen. And then Jared McCabe says, that reminds me, you really should add short devotional verses at the start of your vids. That last part you said was awesome. Thanks for that, Jared. That's a great idea, and we'll definitely add some of that. So thank you so much for that feedback. And then Jez is saying great playing. Hopefully to get early next time. Keep safe, everyone. You're welcome, Jez. The replay is there available for anyone to catch. And if you happen to watch the replay at a later stage, please go ahead, leave a comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And as we celebrate our 6th birthday of our Worship Guitar Skills YouTube channel here, just want to extend a massive thank you for all of your support, for all of your feedback. It's always great hearing from you guys, and much love to you. And I pray God's favor and blessing over you and your family, and that you would have an awesome rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Be blessed, much love, and see you guys soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.